Okay, so we're going to be talking about what is Jesus identified as. We're going to be talking about how Jesus is identified as a prophet by not only his believers but himself too. So here we go. Jesus himself identified himself as a prophet only in Mark chapter 6 verse 4. Now notice how Jesus says a prophet is not without honor. So Jesus is identifying himself as a prophet only. Notice how Jesus doesn't say a prophet and a son of God and God is without honor. No, Jesus himself identifies himself as a prophet only in the Gospel of Mark chapter 6 verse 4. So if Jesus identifies himself as a prophet only, then why are we going to other statements from, like demons and Jesus' enemies to show he's the Son of God? If Jesus is identifying himself as a prophet only in Mark chapter 6 verse 4, then it stands to reason that Jesus himself thought that he was a prophet only. The believers of Jesus said he is a prophet only and not the divine Son of God or God in John chapter 4 verse 13 to 19, John chapter 7 verse 40 to 41, John chapter 9 verse 17, Matthew chapter 16 verse 13 to 14, and Peter, Jesus' closest disciple, identified Jesus as the prophet of the Old Testament, or as the prophet Moses allegedly predicted in Acts chapter 3, verse 22 to 23. Now notice what is being said here. The believers of Jesus said he is a prophet only. Notice how they don't say Jesus is the Son of God, ain't a prophet, ain't God. No, they just identified Jesus as a prophet. Now my question to Christians is, why are the eyewitness believers of Jesus only saying he's a prophet? Why is that? Because they themselves, who are eyewitnesses to Jesus' ministry and eyewitnesses to Jesus' life on earth, concluded or saw him only as a prophet. They didn't see anything that warrants him being the Son of God or the second part of the Trinity. No, these people walked and talked with Jesus, and they identify him as a prophet only, just like Jesus himself identified himself as a prophet only in Mark chapter 6 verse 4. So why should I believe otherwise? He is a prophet only according to the eyewitnesses of Jesus' ministry, and his closest disciple Peter. The people around Jesus knew that he was a prophet. The people considered Jesus to be a prophet. When Jesus asked his disciples whom the people thought he was, they made the following reply. Well, they replied, some say he is John the Baptist, some say he is Elijah, others say Jeremiah or one of the other prophets. Matthew chapter 16 verse 14. So the people considered Jesus to be a prophet. Or the disciples said that the people said that Jesus is a prophet only when they were talking about Jesus. The people of the day realized that Jesus of Nazareth spoke for God in a unique way. The crowds in Jerusalem also testified that Jesus was a prophet only. They recognized that he was sent from God to speak to them. The Bible says, or the New Testament says, the crowds were saying, this is the prophet Jesus from Nazareth in Galilee. Matthew chapter 21 verse 11. Again, Jesus is identified as a prophet by the great crowds. Notice how they don't say Jesus is the Son of God or God. They identify him as a prophet only. So the eyewitnesses thought that Jesus was a prophet only and nothing more or nothing less. Conclusion, we find a number of different people testifying to the fact that Jesus was identified as a prophet only. They don't identify him as a prophet and the Son of God or God. Thus, even the people of Jesus' time or Jesus' day were convinced he was a prophet only. Same thing the Quran says Jesus was. In the Quran chapter 4, verse 171, Quran chapter 5, verse 72, Quran chapter 3, verse 52, etc. So the Quran and the New Testament are in agreement that Jesus identified himself as a prophet, and the eyewitnesses and the crowds during Jesus' day identified him or thought that he was a prophet. And Peter, Jesus' closest disciple, believed and taught that Jesus was a prophet that Moses predicted in Deuteronomy in Acts chapter 3, verse 22 to 23. So Peter thought Jesus was a prophet. Jesus himself taught that he was a prophet, and the crowds and the eyewitnesses taught that Jesus was a prophet, even in the Gospel of John. So Jesus is a prophet only.